Welcome to Inspire Me with Jay. This is a podcast to inspire, uplift, show forth the love of God, and help usher in the spiritual awakening. Please like, subscribe to this channel, and share everywhere. Thank you. Hello, this is Inspire Me with Jay. I have a special guest today, Vinney, who's going to tell us about what he experienced. Vinney, why don't you tell us about yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Jay. Thanks for having me on today. My name is Vinney Tolman. I have had kind of a crazy experience. Back in 2003, I had the opportunity of dying and coming back, and going through that process. And some would call it an after-death experience or a near-death experience. But yeah, that's me, and that's why a lot of people have wanted to chat and know more about the experience, the story. So over the last 20 some odd years, we've been working to help people understand about what happened to me and learn more about it.
So what did happen to you?
So at the time, this was back 2003, I was an amateur bodybuilder. I was working in construction. I had previously just kind of walked away from the TV industry. I was working in the TV industry for a few years, and here and there, not with major projects necessarily, but with major TV. And our show essentially got canceled. I went back to construction, and I was working in that field, working on getting my body stronger and bigger, and utilizing some new supplements that had just recently come out. And one of these supplements was so popular that you couldn't find it anywhere. And a buddy of mine and we decided to purchase some online, and it came from Thailand, which the product there is way different than the products that you get here. Understandably, we didn't read Thai, the script. It's like a script language, so we couldn't read it. And we ended up taking what we thought was our normal dosage. And with the American stuff, you would just take one single bottle cap of the bottle and fill it up with this liquid supplement and take it. And so we both did that. But what we didn't realize is the product that we had purchased online was 100% solution, whereas the American stuff was a 5% solution. So we essentially took 20 times what the American dosage would have been in just doing a single bottle cap even. It was extremely concentrated, this form. Well, our bodies felt the coming on of this chemical instantly. Like as soon as it passed my lips, I could feel it hitting me, and it felt different than anything that I'd ever taken. And I started to get a little worried, but I thought, hey, let's go get something to eat. Maybe that'll make us feel better. And I know that sounds kind of dumb, but that's what I thought. I was 25 years old. I thought, you know what? I know this is probably not so good for us. Hey, let's go get something to eat, and maybe we'll feel better. So we went and went to our local Dairy Queen there in our local town that I was living in, and I made it barely into the front door and barely into the bathroom, which the bathroom at that restaurant was right by the front door. And I collapsed just inside the front door, and or just inside the bathroom door. And a buddy of mine walked in that Dairy Queen and collapsed on a booth. So, the manager of the restaurant saw him come in and collapse on the booth, and saw him that he was vomiting all over and he was not responding. So they did call emergency services for him. But meanwhile, nobody knew I was in the bathroom. I had locked the door, unfortunately, when I went in. And so I was behind that locked door. I fell, I collapsed, and I started to vomit myself. I began to aspirate. And through that aspirating, I suffocated, and I died right then and there. I went straight from feeling the earth like moving and feeling dizzy to all of a sudden I was watching this experience from above. I could see what was happening down below me, and I could see everything play out, including watching my buddy get hauled away. I watched him get hauled away in the ambulance. So it was quite interesting to be a part of all that, where I'm seeing this all play out in front of me. And then from there, I watched as a medical, as this customer kept trying to go into that bathroom. He couldn't get in, and he kept knocking on the door, nobody to answer. And he'd go back and sit down for a few minutes, and they went back in, knocked on the door, no answer. Finally, after the third time where he went to try to use the bathroom and knocked on the door, he went to the manager and asked him, "Hey, can you open the bathroom? I need to use the bathroom." So the manager, after he had already dealt with the medics and sent away my buddy, he went ahead and opened this bathroom door and saw a dead guy right there on the floor. And they called 911 for a second time that day. They got emergency services there. They did pronounce the body dead, though. At that point, they did pronounce that my body was dead, and that they tried to do some preliminary work to try to resuscitate the body, but the body had already started to turn a bit cold, on the colder side of things. And they proceeded to bag the body and put it on a gurney, and they put it in the back of that ambulance and strapped it down, and began the paperwork to leave, to take away from the scene and take this body to the local medical examiner's office. And I was watching all this happen, and I noticed there was a rookie medic, a brand new medic. It was his first week on the job, and I don't know how I knew that, but I knew it. And I could tell that it wasn't sitting right with him, that nobody was trying very hard. He felt like there was a lot more that they could try to do to save this guy, to save this body, save whoever this guy is, which is obviously me. And as they pulled away from the scene, I could feel and hear his energy saying, I wish we could have done more. Why am I becoming a medic just to not save people? I wish that we could save this one. So as he was saying this and feeling this, I saw light start to form around his heart area. And it started really small and just started to look kind of like a glow, almost like a glow was starting to come from the chest area on his body. And that glow started to get brighter and brighter. And then at that point, I felt a force come over me, like where I was watching everything. I felt this force come over my head. And that force was definitely a message, because I saw the message get delivered. And I actually heard with my ears, "This one's not dead." And I could tell that the rookie medic, heard that as well. And he looked around when he first heard it, wondering, like, where did that come from, And for a few moments, he thought about it, then just disregarded it as, this must be my imagination or something like that. So he disregarded it. They continued down the road a little bit further. But at this point, this light that was glowing from his chest area, it actually got brighter and continued to get brighter and brighter. And that light went till it was covering his head all the way to his waist. And it went quite large. And at that point, I felt that same force again come over my head. And I heard it a second time, this time even louder, that this one's not dead. And at that point, he reacted. He did hear it. He reacted. He undid a strap around the neck area of the body. He undid another strap, and then he unzipped the body bag and started feeling around on the body. He didn't feel anything but just a wet, dead body. It was wet from the vomit and such, but it was quite disgusting, of course. But he kept feeling around. He felt under the arm for any sign of life after he had checked the neck area. Still nothing. He undid another strap on the gurney and unzipped the body bag further, and felt down in the femur area. There's a big artery there, so he was feeling that area to see if there was any type of warmth or life or pulsing a beat to the artery itself. And as he was down there, he didn't feel that artery, but he was pushing to feel it, and he actually made contact with the femur bone. And when he made contact with the femur bone, I felt a spark where I was, and I could tell that he did too, because he jumped a little. And it felt as if we both got kind of shocked by that connection, or that process that he was performing. And from that, he felt it was enough of a sign for him that this guy might have some life in him. So he began to go through the process of trying to fully resuscitate a body. He started getting oxygen forced into the lungs. He hooked me up to one of these defibrillating machines, and he charged it and allowed the charge to hit. And there was, nothing happened from that. Then a second time, he charged and let it hit. On the second charge, it did get a single heartbeat, but then back to flat line. And then on a third charge, the third round, they got a steady and faint heartbeat, and it stayed. The beating stayed. And so from that point, this rookie, he followed this intuition, and he was able to get the body to come back. And one of the synchronicities of all this is this all happened when I was about a block away from the hospital, from a trauma center with a cardiology unit. So they were able to meet the body and go right into servicing and getting that body back to life and getting the systems back up and running. The one thing is, because I was starved of oxygen for so long, I was in a coma for 3 days. And so I was essentially brain dead for those 3 days. And during those 3 days, I was off in what I would consider heaven. I was off in this space where, to me, that's our real life, that's our real existence. And I was able to spend 3 days in heaven and make my journey there. And while I was there, I was essentially forced back into my body, through the process of prayer and through the process of the efforts of my family, my brother specifically. But right when I first had the experience of seeing them bring the body back, I was again watching all that from above. I realized it was me. I finally realized what I'd been watching was me, was my own body. And this forced me into facing the fact that here, where I was not down there, and that somehow I was up here and I was still alive. And so even though the body had died and it was now coming back, the essence of who I was, it lives on, and it did live on. And as I was recognizing this, I did start to feel the fear and the scary aspect of feeling that you're dead. And as that was overcoming me and taking me over, I felt this warmth come over me, and the warmth was coming from behind me. And this warmth, this warmth was extremely powerful and healing. It completely overtook me, and it made it so that I didn't feel any of that fear anymore. I didn't feel any of that darkness anymore. I could just feel this overwhelming light and this overwhelming love. And I turned around to see where this energy was coming from, and it was coming from a gentleman who he later addressed me as being my guide. This gentleman that's my guide to help me go wherever I want to go. I could go with him. He could take me to anywhere I wanted to go in the universe, or he could help me go back to my body, either or. And he began that process of helping me understand how to get to heaven, because that's where I wanted to go. As soon as he gave me that option, I said, well, I want to go with you. Wherever you came from, that's where I want to go. And he explained that he came from my home, and that he could help me go back to my home if I wanted to. And that's what I began to do. I began this journey, this 3-day journey, to get back to my home, to heaven, where we all originally came from. And this journey it was quite extensive just to even go through. I had to learn a lot. I thought that for sure I already knew everything I needed to know to get to heaven, but I didn't. There was quite a lot that I still needed to understand, and that I still needed to fully embody in my being, in my consciousness or my understanding. And through that learning, I was actually able to make it into this heaven space, into this beautiful sacred space. And there I was able to see a precious area that we can all have access to, where we can learn eternally. It felt like, to me, like what I would consider like the university, where we could all go and learn anything we want to learn, um, without the influence of mankind, without the influence of interpretation of history. We can really learn the real sciences and the real history of the universe and of Earth, and anything that we would like to. So I got to see this amazing place, and see, more importantly than the university, I got to see grass. I got to see the grass there alone is just breathtaking. The colors are more colors than we have in our entire gamut of colors. Is just the colors of the grass are so innumerable. And the grass itself actually glowed of light. It had light coming from it. It had a beautiful scent and a beautiful energy coming from it. And I didn't understand why it was so different than anything I'd ever experienced before. But later in reflection, I understood it was the actual love of God that I was feeling coming from the grass and coming from the flowers, which were next. That's the next thing I saw, in the trees and the water. But all of heaven in itself exudes love, the love that God has for each and every one of us. And I was able to really feel that and embody that. And Drake, my guide, as I got there and was experiencing all of this, he pulled me in close and gave me a hug and told me that this was going to be really hard, but it was going to be worth it. And he helped me hear a special blessing or a special prayer that was being given to my body. And the special blessing blessed my body, that it would be made whole, that I would come back to my body. And so at that, when I heard the closing of that blessing, the closing of that prayer, I was forced back into my body. And that's my experience. I woke up after 3 days being in a coma. I had this tremendous experience of going to heaven and being there, and experiencing kind of like the real short trip to heaven. I didn't get to stay there. I would have loved to have stayed there. And I was forced back into a body that I didn't want to be in for a long time. It took me a few months to really come around to being okay with being alive, because I wanted to go back. I wanted so badly to go back to heaven right after this all happened. But yeah, that's my experience, man. And it's not that I share this experience to try to prove anything or try to tell anybody anything. I just share the experience because people have asked me to share it over the years, and some people really connect to the idea that we have a heaven. It doesn't matter if we connect to that idea or not. It exists. It's a real place, and our eternal nature, our spiritual nature, is much larger and bigger than we could ever comprehend or know. And really, that's what my experience is all about. It's helping us understand that we are an eternal being. All of us, we are all eternal in nature. Our spirit is, our soul is. The energy that makes up our soul and our spirit is eternal. In the same way that you cannot destroy energy, you can only convert it. The energy of our soul and our spirit does live on and moves forward into the eternities after this life.
Have you ever wondered whether the Bible was compatible with a near-death experience? In my book, Heaven's Truth, the parallels between the Bible and the near-death experience, your faith will be strengthened while you support this channel. In Heaven's Truth, you will learn about near-death experiences and other similar experiences in the Bible. Support for the Bible contained in NDEs. A central theme that runs through both the Bible and NDEs. How the NDE brings the Bible to life for these modern times. Evidence for both the Bible and the NDE, and much more. Great book. Spillers does an excellent job weaving the relationship between NDEs and the scriptures. 5 stars on Amazon, available on Amazon. When you said that you saw these things, were you able to get some of it confirmed? Like, he was in fact a rookie. He was thinking these thoughts, all of the things that were
Yes.
going on. People said and did that. So you were able to get
Yes.
confirmation from them?
I was. So I was very grateful, and still I'm so grateful to this gentleman for following that intuition. I did ask him what it sounded like, what the voice was, and he wouldn't even say it was a voice. He said, no, it was a gut instinct. He called it a gut instinct that he just knew something was different about my case. I went and had lunch with him after I came back and was out of the hospital. This was about a month after I was out of the hospital. I sought him out at the ambulance company that he was working for, and he was just about to quit his job with the ambulance and start working with the fire department. So he had been trying to transfer over to the fire department for quite a while, and he had just passed all the tests and everything. So yeah, when I had lunch with him, we went to a Quiznos and had a sub sandwich, and he explained to me that he just had this gut instinct that it was time to do some extra work on this one. And I asked him, I'm like, have you had that gut instinct on anybody else? And at that time he had said no. And later I heard from somebody who was friends with him that said he still had that same type of instinct with other people. I don't know if it was many people or how many, but he was kind of known in the fire department as having that instinct of knowing when someone potentially wasn't all the way gone necessarily. And I'm extremely grateful for him. But I was able to confirm it was his first week on the job. I was able to confirm something about that I had heard from the manager and his thoughts. I was able to confirm that as well. And then there was another aspect to the experience. There was an assistant manager. She was a younger gal, like 16, 17 years old. She was like the assistant manager at this Dairy Queen. And I was able to confirm something with her as well. But yeah, I had a couple of confirmations. The big one for me, though, the biggest confirmation was Drake, because I didn't know who Drake was. Even during the experience, he portrayed to me with so much love, and he really loved me as if I was his own son. And I thought in some way he was just an embodiment of God's love for me. I didn't quite understand who Drake was. And now this, my experience happened in January of 2003. The following July of 2003, I was in a little town in Wyoming, and I saw a presentation of the history of the town. And up on the screen is a big picture of Drake. Big picture of Drake. Even though it didn't say his name was Drake, it said his name was Charles. It said Charles Kazare. And I knew that my grandmother was a Kazare, and I knew it was him, though. I knew without a shadow of my doubt that was his picture that had just popped up. And I went to my grandma right away, and I asked her, I said, hey, grandmother, this Charles Kazare guy, who is he? Is he related to you? Because my grandmother was a Kazare. And her exact answer was, oh, you mean great grandpa Drake? Yeah, he was a big deal in Wyoming. He helped set up the state of Wyoming. So he was a big deal for at least the local area, and she always knew him as great grandpa Drake because his middle name was Drake and all of his friends called him Drake. So even though officially his name was Charles, he would go by Drake with all of his friends. So that was an amazing confirmation for me, because up until that point I didn't know who he was. So it took me 7 months to figure out who he was. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting, because I think some of the biggest evidences we have for the near-death experiences. One, when you see things that are happening around you that are confirmed, people are saying things, doing things, wearing certain things, possibly even reading their thoughts, and then it's later confirmed. That
Hmm.
I don't think you would get that from a hallucination, because
No,
some people
yeah.
are skeptical. I think that's a very strong evidence. And then the fact that you found out who Drake was, that it was a departed ancestor, a person that you didn't
Hmm.
know in this lifetime, but then you found out later, oh, well, this was a real person, and it was one of your ancestors. So I guess he'd
Yeah.
be like your great great three times
He would
grandfather.
be, so he was the great grandfather for my grandmother. So he would have been the great great for me. So great 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 grandfather. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
So it's to me it's very serendipitous that I had this whole experience with somebody I didn't know, and only to come to find out that he was an ancestor, a loved ancestor of mine that I've now come to love so tenderly in my heart, because he's a big part of my life. Drake is, on a regular basis. So since my experience, I do have a sensitivity to certain energies and a sensitivity to intuition, and I I count that or chalk it up to the fact that I still have a very strong connection to Drake. I still do. Yeah.
What time period did Drake live? When was he born? When did he die? Do you know?
So 1800s is when he was alive. Was the 1800s? I think he was born in the 1850s. I'd have to look that up, but my wife could tell you. My wife, since this experience, she's gone back and researched and looked up a lot of the ancestry and the family history stuff, and she's been able to give me a lot of information about Drake. And in fact, if people ever want to learn more about my experience, I have a website there. You can also read more about Drake and about his history on Earth, and kind of see some extra information about the whole experience. Yeah.
When he came to you, was he dressed kind of like what you'd expect a man to be dressed like in the late 1800s, early 1900s, or?
So no, he actually came to me all dressed in white, completely dressed in white, but it almost looked like a white suit. But instead of it being an actual suit coat, it looked like a long coat, but it was all white. And then he had this like stole or ascot over his shoulders, and that ascot was like it's weird. It was like a golden color, but it was a hue. It was a color that we don't have here. But the color itself, like it showed light. It was like the color itself was bright like a light. Yeah.
So was Drake? Um, have you seen Drake after your experience? Have you
Yeah.
felt his
So
presence or anything?
I felt his presence. I feel his presence almost daily, if not daily, pretty close to daily. I do meditate every day, and I ask that, my guides and my ancestors, my loved ones. I also work with angels. I do ask the angels assist me in my daily duties. Um, but yeah, it's quite a process. It's quite an experience to know him. I still know him because I do work with him regularly, but not in the sense that I can see the image of him the way I saw him there. That was really precious to me, that I could see him in the physical, because here we don't have that innate ability necessarily. I can see him, but just in my mind's eye, not in my physical eye. Definitely, yeah.
So do you think a lot of people, when they cross over, their guide in this lifetime turns out to be a departed relative or ancestor?
I think that from what I've been able to learn, because I've been extremely interested in near death studies because of my own experience, and I'm part of a group called IANS, which is the International Association of Near Death Studies, and it's a scientifically based organization to allow people to do research into near death studies, into so many multiples of these experiences people have had, and I feel that from the experience of reading so many different ones now over the years, I would say most times it's some type of ancestor, or It's either God or Christ or whoever they worship. Sometimes they'll come in the form of like Buddhists will actually see Buddha sometimes, or some people who follow Islam will see Muhammad when they have their near-death experience. But I think really what it is, it's somebody who's going to be a personal connection for us, and that's who shows up, is whoever we're going to feel that personal connection with. Even though I could feel that connection, I didn't understand it, but I had it. I knew I had a personal connection. Yeah.
What did you see in heaven? Because you talked about you saw grass and you saw what looked like a university. Maybe did you see other people there besides
I
strangers?
did. Yeah, I saw a lot of people in the university itself. I could feel the presence of just vast amounts of people already there in heaven, and I could feel that they were living out their best life in that space. But it's not what we think it is. It's not this place where we just go live the rest of our life, like there or the rest of existence, the rest of eternities. We go there to experience, to grow, and to progress. So we're always continually growing and progressing in life, and it's an eternal cycle. So when we go there, there'll be a time where we go to rest and to decompress from whatever effect life had on us, and then once we've gotten through that process, then we go take on new journeys, and the new journey might be being a guardian for one of our ancestors, or for someone who's alive, or taking on the duty of being a protector, or being someone who would influence others for good. But yeah, there's a lot of purposes, so many purposes for us in the eternal scheme of things, and we take on these roles lovingly. But yeah, the heaven itself was quite large and had so many people. I saw a few of them in the university, because I did get to see the university, but I did see people from our past, from our present, and from our future already there, and that's the brain ringer, because to them there's no such thing as time. Time only exists here. So to them, past, present, and future already all happened already. So to heaven's perspective, everything has already progressed the way that they thought it was going to, even though when I came back, I came right back to the time I was supposed to. Not, 10 days later, 100 days later, like on the dot, 3 days later, I came back. Yeah.
So it's like you get a job. There's like a verse in the Bible that says, "We will be like the angels." That actually is
Yes,
kind of true, because there are people on the other side that, though they're distinct from what angels are doing something like the angels.
they are. And we'll get to minister, we'll get to serve, we'll get to love, protect. We have no idea the amount of energy and spirit that is supporting us every single day. Every single day we have the support of heaven around us. And unfortunately, our technology is what is essentially like the enemy to all that. The enemy to that higher self, that higher spirituality. Yeah.
What was your religious or spiritual beliefs before the experience, and did they
So I was
change
they
afterwards?
did they did change a little bit, but I was raised Christian. I was raised as a Christian for life. I'm still very, very much Christian, but I do embody a love for all religions. I do. I have an absolute love for all religions. I've studied extensively in Buddhism, and I've studied extensively in different aspects of Christianity, not just my own aspect, but others like Catholicism, and learning more about the dogma and the theology of all the different Christian faiths, so that I can have a better love and an embodiment of love for all faiths, even all different versions of Christianity. Yeah. But yeah,
Well,
so
a lot
I
of
that's
near-death.
that's
Oh,
where
go ahead.
I was gonna say that's the only place I'm different, is I have a full embodiment of love for all religions now, not just and even people that choose not to have religion. I love the being, and not necessarily the views of that being, I love that every single one of us is precious to God. I love that.
Well, a lot of near-death experiencers confirm that all religions have some truth. They're here to
Hmm.
meet people where they are and to teach them, and God uses them to help move people along spiritually. So we don't have to have a negative view of any particular religion, because even if you come from the Christian perspective and you see Jesus as the Savior, the Son of God, the one that died for your sins, that doesn't necessarily mean there's no value in the others, because like we have other people in the Bible, Moses and the Apostle Paul. Obviously, we don't think they died for our sins, but we still revere them and see value in what they presented and what they had for us.
Hmm.
Well, you could see the same thing for like Buddha or Muhammad or some of these other people, that though they may not be the same as Jesus for a Christian, they may still have value as some type of prophet, teacher, sage, or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, and I think the real value in that is to understand that God really loves this world, loves every single being here, and that God's going to reach out and connect to us wherever we allow it, and sometimes even where we don't think we're allowing it, God can reach us. It's important for us though to open up and to allow ourselves to have that connection directly with God, because it's such a different life when you have that God-centered life versus you know a world-centered life, because the world-centered life is always going to leave you feeling empty and leave you feeling like there's no substance there, because that's the world. There's not a lot of actual energy there. It's just um, um, a different path. I really love, though, that God loves us so much, every single one of us, that God's really going to reach out to us where we are ready to receive messages.
Were you able to ask questions to Drake or other people in heaven about different issues that you might have thought about
Absolutely.
in life?
Yes, very much so. So, in my progress of actually getting to heaven, I did have to go through and learn to. First, I had to learn to be authentic, number one. Then I had to learn to understand the purpose of life, and the purpose of life is to come here to learn, and not just like a school, but more like a gym. Where you learn to grow and to work out in a gym, and that's what Earth School is like. Earth School is like a gym for our soul, for our spirit. And then I had to learn to love everyone and listen to my inner voice, use and learn how to use technology responsibly. But what's funny is technology wasn't such a big deal in 2003, but it was sure emphasized to me back then. And so now it's way more important to understand that you've got to use technology responsibly. But I was shown that technology essentially will become the enemy of soul or the enemy of spirit. If we allow it, it will take the place of soul or spirit. Um, so yeah, using technology responsibly, I had to release prejudice. Prejudice itself, I didn't feel I was prejudiced at all. Like I really didn't feel I had any prejudice. And then Drake asked me, "Well, if you're not prejudiced, how do you feel about prejudiced people?" And I was like, "Oh, I hate prejudiced people. They're bad. They're evil. They're bad." And he helped me see that by me hating prejudiced people, I was becoming a prejudiced person. So for me to release all prejudice, I had to actually release any prejudice I had towards prejudiced people. So that was a big deal for me. And he taught me the next step after releasing prejudice was understanding that we all hold a magic wand of creation, and that's our thoughts. That we all have the power of creation using our thoughts, and that we need to avoid all negative influences so that we can master that power of creation, mastering our thoughts, and understand that there is purpose even in evil. There's purpose for good, there's purpose for evil. Without having two choices, we aren't able to make a choice. So it is important for us to have agency, the ability to choose between good and evil. And then know that we are all one. That when at the end of the day, we are all one in God's body. We are all one in God's being. That we're all fingers, individual fingers on God's hands. And for us to hurt or harm or hinder another person, another finger on God's hands, is to only hurt or harm or hinder ourselves, and that we're never harming anybody but ourselves when we're harming others. And that was essentially the 10 things I had to learn to get onto the heaven space, to see the university and to see this vast place, so great and large.
Well, I think with technology, I heard another near-death experience was talking about how we kind of need to view it more like vegetables rather than candy, in the sense where, we take in what we need, but we're not sitting there constantly eating it, and
Yeah,
I think it's kind of like when you watch Star Trek. Obviously, they've got immense technology, but you never see anybody like, glued to their phone or glued to whatever they would use for
yeah,
technology. They use technology as they need it, but then they live their lives. Are we going to get to
they
that
do.
point as in this world where we're going to move beyond just fixating on technology, use it, but live our lives as people have always done for hundreds of years, thousands of years?
Well, I think what's going to happen is we're going to see people become happier and happier and more miserable and more miserable. That the divide between the happy and the sad in life is going to become broader, and we're going to see people either becoming much happier beings or much sadder beings. And the sadder side of being, those people will tend to go real heavy with their technology, even to the point where they'll probably implant it on their body so that they can have access. They can have that technology anytime they want. They can just kind of daydream and then go into their technology, and to a point where it might even get to a point where people want to upload their consciousness or upload who they are, just like the movies in real life, though, where they potentially want to just upload their consciousness to a virtual reality that's so much better than this, so much better than this world for them. Yeah.
I think with prejudice too, um, today you sort of have what they call wokeness, where people are so focused on, you anyone who's racist, anyone who's homophobic, whatever, cancel them out, get rid of them totally. And then people kind of almost live in fear of, if you say the wrong thing, even if you're not trying to be racist or homophobic, if it's construed that way, you can be in trouble. And it's sort of hinders us. And I think the thing with prejudice is try to understand where they're coming from, because most genuine prejudice comes from a fear based. And if you can
Yeah.
help people in love to overcome their fear, that's going to be the best way to reduce prejudice, not being anti-prejudice per se. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
absolutely. Yeah, we're never going to get anything done being anti anything. What we have to be is we have to be pro something we agree with, pro something we like, and not anti anything. And studies actually show this to be provable, that when you throw your energy into anti anything, you're giving more energy into that thing. So you need to be pro things. You need to be pro this, pro that, to throw your energy into that, and that gives you the best ability to to really control the energies around you and to control your purpose in this life. But the magic wands, again, that I was taught of creation. We all have magic wands, and it's our thoughts. Our thoughts are what we create with, because if we really control our thoughts, we can control our habits, and we can control our character, and we can control our destiny, because they're all attached to each other through our thoughts first.
Are you looking for a devotional that will radically transform your walk with Christ and revolutionize the world at the same time? Check out my latest book, Walk as Children of the Light. This book focuses on everything you need to be fully equipped and discipled in Christ: prayer, meditation, scripture, love, gratitude, and much, much more. Available on Amazon, 5-star rating. What are you doing today in terms of your spirituality? What has your near-death experience led you to do the past 20 years or so?
So, for the last 20 years, I've been working still in the construction industry for a long time. I'm still somewhat attached to that industry, but on a day-to-day, I actually do coaching. I do spirit counseling. I help people um, get some guidance in life. So I do work as a functional guide for people to help them gain direction when they don't feel they're getting direction. I help teach them on certain things that I know, or that I'm able to help them understand or help them learn more about. I work as an energy worker. I also work as a light worker to just help people release trauma from the past and embrace the future, embrace the light of the future, and embrace the opportunity of the future, the opportunity of the present moment, and really magnify their light, magnify their life.
What do you do in terms of helping them with energy work? Are you doing meditation with them or
Everything.
something
So
else?
I do all sorts of aspects to that. What I do is I'll sit somebody down. We'll figure out where they are energy deprived, or where they feel that they don't have energy in their life. And then what we do is we open it up to intuition to see what comes forth as an answer or a solution. And many times that solution's right there. We're able to come up with a solution that will put energy in that aspect of that person's life. And I do it all through a nonprofit, actually. I started a nonprofit called Living God's Light. And through that nonprofit, I function as their essential coach, their life coach or mentor, teacher, trainer, that I train people on how to strengthen different spiritual aspects of their life. Now, if somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, I want you to train me how to increase my vertical jump," I'll be like, "Nope, wrong department, not me." But I'd be happy to help you increase your spiritual jump, your spiritual vertical. I work definitely the energy aspect of life, the mental side of life, the psychology side of life, and I help people make a difference in their own world, in their own life.
And you actually wrote a book about your experience.
Yeah, it's called The Light After Death, and you can actually read more about it at my nonprofit at Living God's Light. But it's most commonly found just on Amazon. That's the best place to get it, is on Amazon, on Kindle, Amazon, and Audible.
And your nonprofit, does that have a website or
It
Facebook
does.
page or something?
Yeah, so the website is livinggodslight.com. We're also on Facebook, on Instagram as well. So yeah, Living God's Light is the nonprofit, and you can just go to livinggodslight.com.
What is like one last word you'd like to leave the audience with before we close out?
One of my favorite words is kismet, Kismet. And really, if we understand and embody the energy of what kismet is, we'll understand what this life is. We'll understand the beautiful, organized, orchestrated genius that was put into organizing life for us, and how we can grow, and how we can learn from this experience here. But I want everyone to know that they are loved exactly how they are by the Creator. If you don't believe in a God, then let's call it the universe. But I'm telling you, like, you are loved, extremely loved, so much so that the way the that heaven looks at us like we are divine masterworks, because we are divine masterworks to heaven, and that we are all extremely precious to heaven, to God.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming on today. It was a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jay. I appreciate you having me on, and may God bless your audience and bless you, my friend. Hope you to have a great month and a great year.